friends, my name is Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path Beadstore.com. Thank you for joining us for the final part of our winged star ornament pattern that we're working through. JD of the Screamin Squirrel is allowing us to do that. This is the page where you can find the free ornament pattern. If you have not got that yet, or you have no clue, just click below in the video description box and you will be able to see that there. And it's been a journey, guys, but we are getting to the end of this journey. We are going to take this off the pod. We are going to put it together so that when you finish, you'll have an awesome ornament. I can't wait for you to see it. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so over the last 2 weeks, you have been working on getting your beadwork complete. Mine is done, and I have actually left my working thread coming out here of the end of my beads. Now, what we want to do is we want to fold this open, and you want to find your little tiny beads that we stitched in. So mine is the yellow bead there. So let me see if I can find the next set. Okay, right there is another one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a really small pair of scissors, and I'm just going to snip the threads right here at this bead. Okay. Now, when you do that, you see what happened right there? Boom. It's coming off of the beadwork, and that's exactly what you want to happen. So now I'm going to find the next one, wherever it may be here. Here we go. All right, and let's snip this one. I know this is super scary. Like, believe me, the first time I ever took these off, I was scared as all get out. I was like, it's all going to fall apart, but it's not. You just have to be careful that you're cutting those little beads. And I think that might be all I had in there. Nope, there's one. And be careful, only snip the little threads there at that bead. Okay. All right, yep, I believe that is it. So let me go back now and find, Lord, I can't even find where I was at. It should not be this hard. There we go. I see it now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be real easy, and I'm going to just gently, you can either, you know, just kind of snip these, or just take like your little awl here and pull the thread. And this is just going to pull it right off of your pod. And see, we're not losing any rows of beads or anything like that. That's a really awesome thing about it. And as it gets a little shorter, you can snip the thread there, make it a little shorter, make it a little easier to pull it off. And like I said, I know this is scary, but it's okay. I promise. See, look at that. Look at that. Oh my goodness. So you're left with your pod, and we're just pulling that thread so that it just pulls it right off of our pod. So again, if your thread or if something starts to get too long or anything like that, just trim it off. Or if you come to a little spot where you're having a little issue, just pull it out there. And it just pulls right off for you. Like I said, the first time I ever seen this done, I was just so in awe. I could not believe it. Absolutely could not believe it. Just take your time. See, I've got about half of it taken off, a little over half. So just take your time. Biggest thing is just, you know, if you did it right, you didn't do any sort of piercing your threads or anything like that. Oh, I lost one bead there. I don't know why I've lost a bead. I'll have to figure that out. There we go. I swear, this is just the wildest thing, y'all. And look right there. Now we have two completely different pieces. We have our original pod that is still good to go. You see there? Still completely good to go. And now we have our beadwork. So I have one little spot here, if I can find it again, where for some reason one little bead came off. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to stitch this little bead back in. But you guys, look what we have. Is this not wild? This is going to turn into our ornament. So I'm going to stitch this little bead in and repair, and I'll be right back. So I have my little thread stitched in and fixed. And so if you have any other little threads that don't come out easy, just make sure to stitch those through and finish those out. So when you actually get it completed, you'll look here, and if you kind of press it down like this, you should have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 here in the center, and then you'll have 10 little points here on the outer edge. If they stand up like this, all you have to do is just press them down like that, and you'll have your points. So we're going to form the bottom of our piece right now. And to form the bottom, I've got a new piece of thread. I decided just to do that, a new piece of thread. And I'm going to put a little bead stopper on it, or a stop bead, whatever you want. And you're not going to need a ton of thread here, but I have some left over. So I've got my stop bead on there. And I'm going to pick any of these 10 size 8 seed beads to exit. So I'm just going to grab this one right here, and I'm going to exit this size 8 seed bead. Now you're going to use either size 11 seed beads. I'm using the red Delica that I used. So you can use 11 or you can use a 15. The designer says either one of those will work. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to skip every other 8/0 seed bead to form a bottom to our piece. So I have one size 11 seed bead. I'm coming out of this bead right here, and I'm going to skip the next size 8 seed bead. So I'm going to pull it back here, put my finger on it, and then I'm going to go through the next size 8 seed bead. So I skipped one and go through one. All right. Now pick up an 11/0. I skip a point and go through a point. And your biggest thing when you do this is make sure you don't get any threads caught as you work here, because they're going to want to catch. Pick up an 11, skip a point and go through a point. Pick up an 11, skip a point and go through a point. And then one more, pick up an 11, skip a point, and when I skip this point, I'll be going through the first point that I started with. So if you kind of pull it up, you can see there. Now, since this is the bottom, if you are going to want to put in any sort of like teardrop or anything like that, this is the part where you're going to want to put that in. You're going to want to make sure that the points that you skipped are not stuck inside and they're to the outer edge there. And so you're going to reinforce this a couple of times, and then we're going to tie these two threads together and have this bottom part finished off. So again, if you want to put any sort of teardrops or anything at the bottom, this is the point where you will do that. Now I'm making my very first one exactly by the pattern. I'm not going to do anything different than the pattern. So now that I'm back to the start here, I'm going to go ahead and pull off my stop bead. And then I'm going to tie the threads together. Okay, and again, make sure you don't get the threads caught on anything there as you work. Tie it again. And then I'm going to pass through the loop with each of these threads and trim these threads off. Okay, so the next step on our pattern says to shape the star's wings by folding each of the free tips downward. The tips will become the North Pole and the wings will pop out around the equator. Turn the newly formed star over so that the loose tips are facing you. So look at that. Oh my gosh, how amazing. Okay, so I'm just grabbing a hold of one of the points that I did not use down here, and very gently, I am pulling this down so that these points pop out like that and form the equator that she's talking about. So I'm going to do this to the 5 points. And again, do this gently, okay? Very gently. And wow, you guys, look at that. It is completely transformed. Oh my gosh. So now we have 5 new points here on the bottom. And the next step says repeat the steps for stitching the south poles together, except this time you won't be skipping any tips. Stitch through the 8/0 bead, pick up an 11. So that's what we're going to do. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let me get my thread here. I'm going to put my little stop bead on it. Wow, that was very cool. I would make this again just to do that again. Okay, so come out of one of the points. One of my new points here on top. So we're not doing anything with these out here. We're only going to be working with these here in the center like this. And I'm going to zoom in again for you there. So pick up an 11 and come through the next 8/0 point bead. An 11 and go through a point. So as you see what she says, we're not having to skip anything because we only have our 5 points down here on the bottom or top this time, whatever you want to call it. Okay, and then one last 11/0 here. Get everything caught on that last bead. Literally. Okay. And oh my goodness, you guys, look at that. Oh, this is so very, very, very cool. Oh my God, I hope you make one of these, and I hope you made one of these with me because, oh boy, doing it was a journey, but dang, this part is so satisfying. As my son would say, it's so satisfying. Okay, so I am reinforcing the top, and you see there, you have to be careful not to get it caught on your new wings that you've got here. But she says now we're going to make a hanger to hang here at the top. So you could do a seed bead loop In the pattern, she is using like a larger size metal ring. So you could definitely do that. Whatever you want to do. I think I'm going to make a little custom hanger. Wow. Yeah, you got to be really careful here. It gets caught on all these points. There we go. So I'm reinforcing this a couple of times. And now I'm going to make a custom hanger. And then I'll be right back. So let me get that made. So I started making my hanger, and then I thought, hey, some of you might want to know how to make this. So I'm using a 16 gauge, just silver wire that I have here. This has a coating on the outside of it, so it will always stay this pretty shiny silver. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off about 4 inches of the wire. Now you can use any round nose pliers that you have. I personally love these. These are these specifically are by the Beadsmith. Beadalon makes their version of this as well, but if you look at it, each barrel is a different size. So you got small, medium, a little bit bigger, like they get big all the way to the back. So I really like using these, but again, you can use any pliers you want, but I'm going to put it back here. I'm going to use this barrel first back here, or you can use the biggest part of your round nose pliers or whatever you have that'll be about that same diameter. And I'm just going to bend the wire around the plier there so that when I pull it out, it's going to look just like this. Now, if you want to, you can put it back in there and you can completely close the loop. Now, I'm going to take this biggest barrel here, and it is going to be opposite the loop. So my loop is here, my biggest barrel is here. And I'm going to bring the wire around that biggest barrel and down just like this. I'm going to take and I'm going to cut right below the loop here on the excess wire. And then I'm going to use the smallest little tip. And I'm going to grab a hold and I'm going to bend the wire back just so that it makes a loop so that I have a custom hanger now for my ornament. So let me get some of these things out of the way here. Find my needle. So I have stitched to where my working thread and my tail were next to each other, and I tied those together. And then I have passed through 1 size 8 seed bead. Now in your pattern, she says to pick up 5 11s and whatever your hanger is going to be. And you are going to pass through the opposite seed bead. So that's actually going to be a size 11 seed bead if I'm coming out of an 8. Be really careful there. I'm going to hold this up so it doesn't get caught on anything as I work. There we go. And it'll hang just like this. So now I'm going to reinforce this. So I'm going to come back up through those 5 size 11 seed beads. You're not going to do this all at once. Okay. And then I'm going to come back through that same size 8 seed bead again. So once I do that, that will be completely centered between this bead and then that size 11 seed bead. And then I'm going to reinforce this a couple of times and then tie the thread off and get rid of the excess threads. So guys, here is the original winged star ornament that we followed from the Screamin Squirrels page, and here is my finished ornament. I am so excited. I love how this little guy turned out right here, and I cannot wait to see your awesome ornaments. They were just Making it was a journey, but boy, when it's finished, it's absolutely beautiful. So if you're on social media, make sure to send me a picture of your piece. I would love, or post it so that everybody can see. We would love to see it. And I'm sure that JD at the Screamin Squirrel would love to see it as well. So again, thank you to JD for letting us do this little bead along on this winged star ornament. Thank you for the free pattern. And guys, again, make this piece. You are going to love it when it's done. I hope that you guys have a great week, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.